you doing?
I'm good. I'm good, thanks. Can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah. It's nice to see you
Awesome.
again.
Yeah, good to see you, man. How's it going?
Yeah, I'm doing good, and I'm just doing the exams right now. So yeah, so yeah. What we'll be talking about today is the podcasting, right? Like, how should we be starting a podcast? Is that going to be the topic, or like we'll be talking some random things?
I don't know, man. You asked me. You asked me to do this. So,
Okay,
what
okay,
do you want to talk about?
okay, fine. Okay, this is going to be my video, right?
Yeah, that's what I thought. Is
Okay,
this your first podcast episode? Is this gonna be your first podcast episode?
okay, all right. Okay, let's start. Please introduce yourself first.
My name is Owen Sheasby. I'm 17. I am the owner of Owen Sheasby Fitness YouTube channel and brand, and I also have a podcast called the Sheasby Podcast. Um, I'm interested in like fitness, as you might have guessed, self-improvement, business. Yeah. Um, and me and Ragul met through Andrew Kirby's Synthesizer School, which is
Yeah.
basically this community for content creators and consultants trying to reach financial freedom. What was I gonna say? Yeah. And then Ragul actually got kicked out of that group. We did a podcast about that.
Yeah, that was my first podcast actually, and that's how
So
we.
here we are.
Yeah,
I'm now on his podcast. So yeah.
yeah, nice to have you, Owen. So, yeah. Um, okay, let's start. First, the I actually got impressed by the video, like the interview, or I mean to say the podcast which you did with Andrew QB. Like it was
Mhm.
so. I actually also noticed that uh, Andrew QB also said my name in that video. That was kind of like I don't
Yeah.
know. That made me like feel good actually, even though like it is not for a good cause, but uh, that
Infamous.
that brought me a smile on my face. I don't know why, even though yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm glad you liked it. What was your like favorite part about it?
Sorry.
What was your favorite part about it? That podcast.
Um, my favorite part. Actually, I actually watched Andy QB's almost all the videos. I actually know what he does. I mean to say, like where he came from and the other things. And I think it's been a week or two. I don't know. I actually forgot some part of it, but um, I would say you were really excited, and I could see like you were really happy throughout the podcast. It really made me feel happy. That's why I also came up and sent you a message that day.
Yeah, he's good. He's got a lot of knowledge, so I'd say it's mostly
Yeah,
him, to be honest. On that one, I don't think I can take that much credit.
yeah.
But yeah, it was a fun one.
And I actually expected him to comment on your video, but he didn't actually.
No, I don't think he has.
I like usually,
But he,
and also I came up with another interview which he did, like a same person like you. He did an interview with Andrew QB. Uh,
Arjun Kamani
yeah,
or Arjun.
yeah, I think so. I don't remember the name. And he actually commented Andrew QB his official account. Yeah.
He
So
said what?
he commented on his video, Andrew QB.
Oh yeah. Um.
Yeah. So okay, let's start. How did you actually got the idea of starting a podcast? Uh, who inspired you to start it, or you have anything to say about it?
Yeah. So how long was it? I think we've been going like Okay, yeah. So we'll start something. So I listened to a lot of podcasts, like as I was on my self improvement journey, still am. But Joe Rogan, Tim Ferriss, Lex Fridman, Andrew Huberman. So I was listening to these guys, and like I liked listening to podcasts. I thought it was cool because there's a lot of like short form content these days, but I liked the longer stuff, the more detailed stuff. I thought that was kind of a different type of content that you couldn't really get through the short form. So me and my brother, we used to have pretty interesting conversations. I'd say I thought they were interesting about like pretty big topics like self-improvement and business and stuff. And I found a lot of people our age like wouldn't talk about any of that kind of stuff. So I was like, well, maybe we should have a podcast. So we started it. I was pretty inconsistent at the beginning. It was originally called the FPI podcast, which was we changed it quite a bit. It was finance, psychology, and innovation, I think, or investing. Um, so yeah, that was just me and him, kind of just talking about stuff, but it felt a bit forced. So more recently, we rebranded it to the Sheasby podcast because we wanted that like increased accountability. I heard Naval talking about it, how you want to put your name on your work, so if it does well, you get the credit. But it can be scary because if it goes wrong, then it's your fault. But I think the upside was worth it because now some people now like start to know my name a bit more. Whereas the FPI podcast, like that could just be anyone, right?
Yeah,
Um, so yeah, I've been more consistent with that. We actually started getting guests on, which I think is way better because it was kind of an opportunity to meet for me to like meet and talk to these people, interesting people I found online who are doing cool stuff. I could learn from them, make content out of it, and like share what they'd learn as well with other people. So I do really like the way that podcasts kind of work.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. So, what are the tools you use for, yeah, almost everything? Like, for your thumbnail creation, video recording. What are all the apps
Okay.
or, that, yeah,
Yeah,
that you
yeah.
are using?
So for video recording off the podcast, I use this thing called OBS Studio,
Yeah. Okay.
um, which is free. You can record basically unlimited time, I'm pretty sure, as long as your computer has enough space. So that's
Okay.
cool. Thumbnails I use actually for the podcast mostly I actually use Canva, but I've been trying to put more effort into the thumbnails recently. So I use Adobe Photoshop. I don't really edit them too much, but if I do edit, I use Adobe Premiere Pro because I had all of the Adobe suite with my school, I think. So yeah, I got it for free. So I was like, yeah, I'm just going to use this, and it's very good. It can basically do anything I really want to.
Okay.
So yeah,
Yeah.
so OBS Studio, Adobe Photoshop, Adobe Premiere Pro, and Canva. Canva's easy, like that's free, but the Adobe ones you have to pay for if you don't have access to it some other way.
Okay. So then my next question is that, how will you actually find people to talk with? I mean, like, what will be the best way for you?
Hmm? What was
How
that last part?
what will be the best way for finding people like this? Like we met through, yeah, school community, right? So,
Yeah.
would you recommend any other platform or so in which we can get to connect with like-minded people?
Twitter, Instagram, not so much Instagram, but like I've been. Do you know Akira the Don?
No, no, I don't.
I'll send him his YouTube channel. I just started messaging him on Instagram, and he makes music.
Oh,
Um, and he like replied to me, and I was like, "Oh, okay, this is cool." And then after a bit, I was like, "Well, this would be sick to speak to this guy." So I said, "Right, would you be willing to do a podcast?" And he just said yes. So he has 80,000 subscribers.
oh,
He's he's done he's done music with like Jordan Peterson, David Goggins. Like he takes their speeches and turns it into music. It's kind of hard to explain, but it's good. I like it. And Jordan Peterson, he's done like interview with Jordan Peterson. So yeah, so
okay,
it's interesting because I think you kind of snowball it. Like if you're trying to get guests, like you're probably not just going to go up to Joe Rogan, just be like, "Yeah, come on my podcast." or like Elon Musk. Like you kind of, I think at the beginning I was just like speaking to people I knew who I was like very very confident they were going to say yes, um, and just to kind of get more experience because I feel like once you've got like 10, 20 episodes, people are going to kind of take it more seriously. There are many people who start a podcast and do like 3 episodes and don't keep going. Um, which was almost me, I think, because at the beginning we were really just like forcing it. Like when we at the very start, before we were having guests, we were just like, oh, we haven't done one in ages, we should do another one. And I don't even know if I really liked doing it that much then, but I do really enjoy it now. Um, but yeah, I think you just want to reach out to people who you're interested in and actually show some interest. I wouldn't just be like straight away, just like, oh, can you come on my podcast? Like, actually talk to them because you want to talk to them and get to know them. Maybe ask them some questions and stuff originally and just be like, oh, cool, this was great talking to you. I'd love to ask you some more questions. Would you be willing to do a podcast? Like, I can't, what was it? I think it was Arjun Kamani, the guy who did the podcast with Andrew Kirby. He was saying, like, people talk about doing like cold DMs and DMing like 100 people a day, but you don't want to do cold DMs. You want to like make them a bit warm. So you want to be like friendly. But I wouldn't say I'm an expert at it, to be honest, man. But uh, I guess I've done a bit. But yeah, Andrew Kirby, I just asked him. He said no originally, and then
Oh,
he listened to some of my podcasts, and then a few months later, he was like, "Yeah, I want to come on." Like he just reached out to me. So I think you kind of got to put yourself out there a bit. Like, don't be scared of people saying no to you because, and also I think it only really takes like one person, I think, to say yes, and then you kind of open doors. So I feel like now I've had Andrew Kirby on my podcast, I can just say, oh yeah, previous guests include this guy who is financially free at 22 and has 600k subs on YouTube, and then you can kind of almost kind of leverage their
how many views that video
achievements.
got, like on YouTube currently?
It's not it's the best video on the channel. It's like 200 and something. It's not like insane.
Until then,
If he,
my video was the best, right?
yeah, yeah, people like the drama, bro. Um, if you Yeah, if he shouted it out, it would have got like thousands of views, I'm pretty sure, but I don't mind. It's fine. Yeah, I feel like in the future oh, it might start getting like more views.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it was the biggest one in like I think a day. If you search Andrew Kirby podcast on YouTube, it's like the second thing that comes up. Yeah, 240 views in less than 2 weeks. So like that's not really that great, but for the channel that we can't, the size of the current channel, like it's good, you know.
And do you still have any other questions left out? Like, do you regret of asking it to Andrew Kirby?
Anything that I wish I asked him that
Yeah,
I
yeah,
didn't.
yeah.
Um, hmm, I don't know. I mean, there probably is, but you can always think of another question, right? So, and I know like time is precious. So I don't want to be like, right,
You are
Andrew, you're going to
really, you are really
sit here for
nervous.
5 hours.
You are nervous. Like at the last moment, you are just like stammering. I really felt through your voice. You
Yeah, I
didn't
was
have.
a bit.
Yeah,
I, I was like, yeah, I don't know what else to say now.
yeah. And then he asked you about like what are your goals. Then you just like thought about it for a while. Then yeah, yeah, I could still remember.
Yeah, I wanted to give a good answer because I feel like sometimes people just rush to answer quickly and they sometimes end up just giving a bad answer. So I think sometimes better to take like 5 seconds and sit there and they might think, what are you waiting for? But I wanted to try and like get it together in my head.
And what do you think his net worth will be? Uh, Andrew Andrew Kibi's net worth.
He said aiming. I can't remember what the exact quote was, but it was something along the lines of I think a billion net worth would be fun, or like a fun goal to hit. I was like, yeah, bro, sounds pretty fun. I think he'll do that. To be honest, if he's aiming for that, I think he can do it because he's done some pretty insane stuff before. So yeah, um, he's definitely got like the knowledge to do it. I don't know if how many people know, but he's worked with Alex Hormozy, he's worked with Naval. Like these are some big guys, like, And also, I was thinking about this. His age, like he's 22, right? And he's already made like millions. I don't think there's any way he doesn't do it if he actually tries, because
And
most guys,
where do
when they
you?
get that much money, like
Uh,
they're older.
yeah.
But if by the time Andrew's 50, if he keeps going like this, like I think he's definitely going to do it with like the compound interest. Yeah, go on. What were we going to say?
Uh, where do you think he actually spends his money? Like, do you actually get to know about those things? Like, where do he actually spend those $1 million? How do he uh, himself uses that money?
He's very frugal, from what he says. He doesn't really spend that much money, I don't think. I'm pretty sure he has quite a lot of it like
If you
invested.
if you are a millionaire right now, what would you like spend your money on?
Well, that's interesting because who was that? Someone said like the first thing people always ask is if you had a million, what would you spend it on? Like they're always asking you about what you're going to spend it on and what you're going to give it away, you know. But I would probably, I think I would invest a good amount of it, and then you'd have some like decent income every year, you know, which you can live off of. So you're basically financially free. Or what would I invest it in? I'd probably invest it into my like social channels, like probably like hiring people to post clips and stuff like that and edit videos. Um, might buy a farm. Don't know. Crypto.